Good Monday evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Emily Walls with Fox 32 Chicago, and we are continuing to track Category 5 Hurricane Milton as it makes its way through the Gulf of Mexico, and it should be approaching the west coast of Florida sometime late Wednesday. So let's talk about some of the details coming along with this system here. So again, this is now a Category 5 storm. It rapidly intensified this morning. This morning, when a lot of us were getting up and moving for the day, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., this was still a Category 2 storm, and then by 6 a.m., it had rapidly intensified into a Category 3 with 120 mile per hour winds. By 7, it further intensified to have 125 mile per hour winds. And then eventually by 8 a.m., it was already a Category 4. By 11 a.m., it had strengthened into a Category 5, and it's been strengthening ever since. So at 11 o'clock this morning, when that official word came out that this was now a Category 5 storm, it had 160 mile per hour winds. Now, based on the Saffir-Simpson scale, that's the wind scale that we use to rank hurricanes. So the Category 5 wind scale starts at 157 miles per hour, and we now have 180 mile per hour sustained winds, wind gusts up to 220 miles per hour, and it's moving east at about 10 miles per hour. So this is a catastrophic storm, and it's also very rare to see a storm that is this strong in the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, I was crunching a little bit of numbers earlier, and only 2 hurricanes since 1950 have had 180 mile per hour winds or higher in the Gulf of Mexico. So what you're looking at right here, this is a rare sight to see. This is an extremely strong hurricane to see in the Gulf of Mexico. Again, 180 mile per hour winds, and we could actually see further strengthening as we progress through tonight. And why is that? It's coming down to how warm the sea surface temperatures are. So currently, the sea surface temps across the Gulf are in the mid 80s for a lot of locations. And here's how a hurricane forms. So first and foremost, you need warm water temperatures of at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit. We have that. We need light upper level winds. We have that as well. That's why this hurricane is blowing up so quickly this morning and then continuing through the day. And again, it's going to maintain its strength as well. So speaking of how hurricanes develop, this is what took place a couple days ago when we just started watching this storm system. So there was rising air over this area on the Gulf, and the rising air was causing storms and clouds to form. And then eventually, the more rising air that you have, the more moisture that you're able to work with, more and more storms are going to begin to develop. And that continuous rising motion is going to aid in additional storm formation as you move forward. And then the outside air, that's going to be rushing in to replace that rising air. So the Earth, something that you can always kind of think about here is the Earth wants to even itself out. It likes balance. So if you're rising air in one location, the air is going to rush in from somewhere else to fill that gap of where the air has been rising. So that's what we are seeing over the Gulf. Eventually you have a tropical system that forms, and then in this case, it very rapidly turned into a major hurricane. Major hurricanes are defined as Category 3 or higher, so sustained winds of 115 miles per hour or higher. And again, we have that with Hurricane Milton. It is now a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane, I should say, with 180 mile per hour sustained winds. Let's talk a little bit about the sea surface temperatures, because again, this is acting as fuel for this storm, and all across the Gulf of Mexico, we have sea surface temperatures that are in the mid 80s. So that's going to continue to fuel this storm for the next couple of days. And then eventually, as it begins to near the coast of Florida, fortunately, this is going to begin to weaken. So there's going to be some other things that come into play that should help to weaken the storm system as it approaches the Gulf, or as it approaches the coast, excuse me. So right now, this system is moving east at about 10 miles per hour, and here's where it's headed. So it's going to begin to make its way to the east, then start to take a turn to the northeast, likely making landfall somewhere in Tampa, very close to Tampa, or the very surrounding areas. That's the bullseye that we're looking at right now. And it's likely going to be a high-end Category 3 or a low-end Category 4. So we're going to have devastating impacts as this begins to approach the Florida coast. And then even as it moves across the Florida coast, it is still going to maintain its hurricane strength as it crosses over to the east side of Florida. So it's not just the west side that's going to be feeling those impacts. Again, it's all the way over to the east side as well. And we talk about this all the time, storm surge. Well, what does it really mean? This is the amount of water above ground level that we're likely going to see as this hurricane begins to work its way in. And just so you know, roughly half of all fatalities associated with tropical cyclones occur because of storm surge. So make sure if you have friends, family that live along the coast, make sure they're heeding the warnings of their local officials, because this is going to be a very dangerous, life-threatening storm surge as it begins to make its way in and as we approach landfall on Wednesday. So from areas through Tampa Bay, down through Sarasota, even down toward Cape Coral, we're looking at above 12 feet of storm surge. So, that you could coin that as unsurvivable. So again, for those of you close to the coast, if you have friends, family near the coast, make sure you reiterate to them that they should be listening to their local officials. This is going to be a very dangerous storm as it approaches the coast on Wednesday. It will likely make landfall somewhere very close to Tampa Wednesday evening or Wednesday night. So again, stay safe, everybody, and please pass along this message for those of you that know people that are in the Florida area.